You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to a lap of Extra Mile for today, July 28th, 2022. And while the racing action was hot this weekend, we had a lot of off-the-track stuff that we're going to get to tonight. So if we're a little bit light on the race reviews, I apologize. But there's just a lot we got to get to. And to help me get through all of it, of course, are my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward.
Hello.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And if you are live here in the chat, make sure to get your comments in. We'll read them out loud. And thank you all that have been participating on the TikTok lately. Love seeing your comments. Love seeing the interaction on some of the videos we've had over there, including my ranting on Ferrari not being able to strategy. So thank you all so much. The Extra Mile Pod over there on TikTok, if you want to get involved with that. And we will have more after the lap, so keep it locked for that as well. So we will go ahead and get into the program. And as I said at the beginning, I don't know how much actual post-race we're going to be doing, which is probably a good thing because it's Thursday and all the good takes have been taken by the time we get here. But there's just so much that happened off the track this week that's just insane. And I guess we can start with IndyCar, which we rarely start with IndyCar on this show, but the whole Alex Palou drama. Have you guys kept up with this?
I have not. I saw your text message today, and I was rather taken aback by it, but I did not have time to look up anything about it, other than I did see that CGR is suing him, but that's really about it.
Yeah. So the background of this is a couple of weeks ago we talked about where was Alex Palou going to end up in IndyCar next season. Chip Ganassi put out a statement saying that they had a deal in place for Palou to be back in 2023. Palou then tweets basically calling it fake news, and around the same time McLaren puts out a tweet saying they've got Palou signed for 2023. Now, apparently this deal also includes an option for Palou to eventually ascend to the Formula One ranks. However, Chip Ganassi Racing is now suing Palou, who's still there, by the way, because Palou allegedly signed a contract with Chip Ganassi for 2023. Ganassi is hoping to go to private arbitration on the situation, but guys, first thing I'm going to say is Palou did not play this well at all, and this is the last thing you need while you're, oh, by the way, trying to defend your championship.
Yeah, this is definitely something he does not need to happen right now, especially with possibly making the transition to Formula One and, like you said, defending your title. I think he really should have just played this move well, and fortunately he didn't. There's a lot of contractual, I think what a lot of people don't know about the behind the scenes of motorsports is the contractual obligations that happen behind the scenes.
And we don't hear a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I would just say that that's where your team comes in, right? Mm-hmm. These guys have agents, they have lawyers, they have, I mean, everything working for them, or at least firms hired to handle all this. So realistically, drama or uncertainty around a contract to this degree is kind of mind-boggling, really. I mean, you're not talking about one person kind of screwing up here. You're talking about 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 people kind of screwing up, and it seems rather ludicrous to me that we're even talking about this.
Yeah. Like I was talking to Dell before the show started, it's usually if a team really wants a driver, they'll either buy out the contract or make an agreement with the team. The team will have just some sort of an agreement, and then that'll be fine. But what happened is a contract was signed without either team not really knowing. I believe so. I could be extremely wrong, but yeah, it's usually all sides have to agree before this stuff is passed, and if it doesn't, you'll have what's happening now. It's the lawsuit.
Yeah. Typically, we don't hear about contracts in racing, period, because unlike in the stick and ball sports that we cover with other shows on this network, which we have 31 of them. You can listen to them right here on Spreaker.com and anywhere you can get your podcast. Cheap plug. In racing, they're all private entities, and they are not bound by the same contractual obligations that the NFL, NBA, NHL teams are, because they are franchises of the association. All the race teams are private entities that run under the sanction of the sport, and they are not at liberty to be required to disclose what the contracts are. So we don't know when these signings allegedly happen. They'll find out in court, but I understand the allure of these young guys in the United States that see IndyCar as a way to get to Formula One. I don't know why they want to go to Formula One. The way things look right now, it's kind of a mess over there. Personal opinion. There's only 20 seats. There should be 26.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah.
I don't. If you're an American driver, I know the allure of Formula One is big, but trust me, it's not all that great. Your seat is constantly going to be competed against, and if you don't perform, then you're gone. Essentially, I think if you're an American driver, you pursue other types of motorsports.
Well, Pelot is Spanish, but the point still remains. You're racing in America, and they completely disrespect anybody that drives over here. Look at what happened with Michael Andretti when he went to McLaren in 1993. It was an absolute farce what happened to him. Look at Michael Andretti, ironically, trying to start a team in Formula One. Absolute farce. For whatever reason, well, I know why, the teams don't want to let in more entities, even though the sport desperately needs more seats, because we're sitting here at a situation, last year's F2 champion is standing in the back of someone's garage with the headphones on instead of in the car, and that could happen again this year with the F2 champion, because we don't have enough seats. Now, one seat is opening, which we'll talk about in a minute, but that seat, this is a terrible race team. So I get why you would want to go to Formula One, as it's the dream, but realistically, why would you want to go there?
Yeah, there's while you're waiting for a seat to fill, there's definitely other pretty good sports. Like the WEC, they're gonna have a lot of hypercar seats that need drivers.
So many, with all the teams that have been announced.
It's like, you want to race for BMW? Boom, there's a BMW team. You want to race for Cadillac? Boom, there's a Cadillac team. You want to race for Chevrolet? Boom, there's a Chevrolet team. So I would, as far as racing in Formula One, it's a bit of a crap show. But I'm just saying there are other sports out there that offer pretty good publicity and pretty good entertainment, pretty good money than Formula One.
Which, by the way, just to take a quick tangent, have you seen all the hypercar programs and GTP programs that have been announced for 2023 and beyond?
Yes.
We have Acura. We have Toyota continuing. We have Porsche. We have Alpine that are going to come back with a car in 2024. We have, even though I don't really like this team that much, Glickenhaus. BMW is going to have a car. Lamborghini at some point is going to have a car. We already said Cadillac. Ferrari's car comes next year. We have Renault, not Renault, Peugeot's car that's already here. There's the Van Wall project that we might see. There's 11 different manufacturers. We could have 30 cars between WEC and IMSA in 2024 with hypercars. Those all need seats.
Yeah, Formula One continues to be dominated by Verstappen. I'm sorry, Daryl. If Formula One continues
go ahead.
to be dominated by Verstappen, you might want to try to see the sports car side of things. I'm just going to say that right there. I'm just going to drop that.
Yeah, and as Chris is rejoining us, as Michael and I are yet again salivating over the hypercar category, because if you've listened to this show for the last couple of years, me and him are very pro hypercar at this point. We get the allure of Formula One, but realistically, shouldn't these drivers be looking at other top-level motorsports to go to or stay where they are, because IndyCar is a top-level motorsport, other than just trying to go F1 or bust? Because except for a minute few, it's going to be bust. Yeah,
but, I mean, the other thing is you got to look at, what people's motivations are. I mean, every kid when they're racing go-karts to start out, right? Their dream is to be the best of the best. And you can say that about any sport. The kid on the football field, right? Playing pee-wee football. He wants to be the next Tom Brady or whoever. And I think that, as these kids, they find themselves someone to look up to. They find a hero, and they want to emulate what that person has done. And for a lot of people around the world, Formula One is the best of the best. Yeah. And if you think about, you have two people who are just the greatest, world-renowned Formula One drivers. I mean, there's obviously more than two. But Schumi and Lewis Hamilton, right? 7-time, they're the best of Formula One. Formula One's the best racing series on earth, and you got those two guys who are largely considered, the greatest of all times for their respective eras. And there's going to be another greatest of all time for this era. It's probably going to be Max. Realistically, he's going to be the legend of his era. But there's going to be another one after Max, right? And that kid is probably in middle school right now, racing go-karts, right?
Yep.
That kid, he's already alive. He's already racing something right now. And so it comes down to what your motivation is. Do you want to be the best? And then, I mean, the other thing you can do is look at finances too. I mean, Formula One, if you're the top dog in Formula One, you're making far more than you will in any other racing series.
Yeah, but also takes a lot of money to get there. So much.
Absolutely. But it takes money to get to the top in any sport.
You're not wrong.
It takes a lot of money and who you know, and
it takes
the right
last name,
drivers academy, and
you have to have the right last name and the right amount of money.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're not.
And that's how it is in any sport, really. Motorsport anyway. You want to be on the top, you have to have the right family and the right sponsors or the right amount of money backing you. And so, as far as, people's motivation to stay into a lower series where they find more success, I don't know. I think I would rather be the worst in Formula One than the best in Formula 3.
That might be a question for after the lap. Stay tuned, and we will see what we come up with. But yeah, this situation has gotten ugly, and it's going to be a huge distraction as they're racing for a championship. And I don't know how that dynamic works with the team. You're suing the guy, but you're also trying to help him win a championship. It's really weird, and hopefully this gets dealt with amicably, I will say. But a scary situation. Go ahead.
If I'm CGR, if I'm Chip Ganassi Racing, I just tell McLaren, look, if you want to sign him, you got to buy out the last year of his contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or come up with some sort of financial arrangement because obviously he doesn't want to race for you, and if that's the case, you don't want him racing for you. The best
because it's just going to be a mess.
Correct. So your best option is to try to get something for him. in a lot of other sports, there's trades, right? You trade players for players or players for picks. Trade Pelot for money.
Yep.
Man, that's
if they want them, they'll pay for them.
That's kind of what you have to do, honestly.
I mean, that's why they go into the arbitration, and we'll see what happens. But a serious situation that we were scared about, Joseph Newgarden took a massive hit in race 2 of the HighVDeals.com, or the Hy-Vee weekend in Iowa. The Hy-Vee Salute to Farmers 300 was the second race, won by Pato O'Ward, but was absolutely dominated by Josef Newgarden. Led 148 laps before he ended up backing it into the wall while leading on lap 235. Was originally checked and released, but as he was leaving his trailer, he fell unconscious, got an abrasion on his head, was airlifted from the speedway. We haven't heard much since about his condition. I believe he's going to race this weekend, but guys, that's just a scary situation. You wonder, did he have lingering effects from that hit? Because that was a vicious smack to the turn 4 wall that he took on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, vicious hit, hot temperatures. I mean, there was a lot of recipes for what happened to happen, and so it's not entirely unsurprising, to be completely honest. Just hope that he's doing well, which it sounds like he probably is. So, but it just goes back to driver safety and making sure that before they're released from infield care centers, they're getting cooled down, they're getting hydrated, and checked out for concussion protocols, and making sure that they're okay to leave the supervision of healthcare professionals.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, it's been a scary week for concussions. We saw Kurt Busch got concussed during qualifying on Saturday, which for Pocono, which thrust Ty Gibbs into his first career start in the Cup Series, which he was respectable in. Got a 16th place finish. We'll talk about why he got a 16th place finish in a minute. Ty will race again this weekend in Indianapolis, but concussions is usually something we talk about in football. And Michael, we'll start with you, and then Chris, you can talk about this as well. I am shocked we don't talk about it more in our sport.
It's just that usually safety has been a big thing in motorsports. We try to make I'm saying we like I'm a part of the team. Usually in motorsports, they try to make sure the drivers walk away as intact as possible, because in motorsports we're dealing with really high speeds, really high impacts. So the amount that's put into safety has been astronomical, especially if you look at NASCAR over the years. What's been a death every year has turned into almost no deaths every year, or no injuries every year. So NASCAR has been, making a great attempt at safety. IndyCar, kind of hard to say because you're dealing with a lot less protection in the car. So you can definitely, the recipes for injury is always going to be there. And for what these teams have done with safety, I think it's been great, but you can't escape every type of injury. There's only so much that, your helmet's going to do protecting your head from hitting something. Sometimes I think just a concussion is, it's bad, but it's better than, not being able to walk away from the car at all.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think the big difference between what we would consider a traditional stick and ball sport where contact is allowed versus motorsports is in a typical game. Let's take football for instance, because it's the crown jewel of brain injury.
Yeah, it is.
those guys are getting hit in their head multiple times a game, depending on what position you are. But there's a lot of head trauma going on every single time they step onto that field. Whereas, in racing, obviously their heads are like rag dolls. But they've got Hans devices. Their seats really don't allow their head to move much. So you get a little jiggle back and forth, but I wouldn't really consider it enough to be traumatic to the brain. And so the thing about brain injuries is the more you have, the more you will have. Obviously once you've had your first concussion, you're more likely to get a second than someone who hasn't had a concussion to get their first. And it's just it's a trickle down effect where the more you get it, the more likely you will. And so with stick and ball sports where there's a lot of contact all the time, that's why you get a lot more concussions and why it's taken so much more seriously. Whereas in motorsports, a driver, most drivers probably have 2, maybe 3 big hits in a season. But a lot of times they're either really small hits or they're not doing anything. I mean, look at like George Russell. He hasn't finished one race this season. So aside from like the porpoising, which is terrible in other ways, he hasn't had his brain rocked any. Other drivers have, and so I think it just comes down to the probability that you really put yourself in a situation to have a concussion is why they're less likely in motorsports. You're getting hit less, so you're less likely to get one.
Yeah, but I would counter that by saying, though, when you hit in motorsports, you hit. I think Michael McDowell took 70, 80 G's when he crash tested the COT way back in its first year.
I know, but you said crash tested.
I mean, he did. I mean, he was basically the guy that tested, okay, these cars are really survivable, but he almost died during Texas qualifying. We've seen some terrifying hits in our sport. I mean, the Robert Wickens crash. Sometimes you go back and watch crash compilations. I have not sought out that accident at all. I still remember this
crash compilations like that anymore, to be honest with you.
No, not after not after you realize how many people, the implications of it. But the sport, it's a testament to them taking it seriously. The head injuries and everything, unfortunately, it took a lot of bodies to get here. Let's be honest. The 50s and 60s. That was a wild yeah, well, no, even up to the 80s was just a wild time for motorsport safety. People were sitting on the gas tanks in Formula One in the 70s, and we were just all okay with that.
There was a lot of things back in the day that for safety that were questionable at best, and
at best.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Think about like, and we're not even talking motorsports here, but think about the old station wagons with the rear facing seats in the back. I mean,
oh jeez.
You get rear-ended.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their safety innovation, I don't think, was really taken overly serious until probably the late 80s, early 90s, is I think when people started realizing safety is something worthwhile. But before then, it was just whatever's popular is popular.
Well, remember, cars in the 50s didn't have seat belts.
Yeah,
so you're just in that back seat, no seat belt, just vibes.
Thank goodness to, I think it was Volkswagen that developed the seatbelt or something, and then gave the patent away for free.
Yeah, no seat. Go ahead.
I think it was Volkswagen. I can't remember who, but one of the car companies developed it and then gave it away for free because they realized the safety implications of it.
So the patent was issued by, who did Bolin work? Niles Bolin, a Swedish engineer. This was in
Volvo.
1962. No, 1959 he filed the patent. Yeah, it was Volvo.
Yeah.
In 1962.
Swedish, I had a feeling.
Yeah,
Started with
the
a
U.S.
V, right? Volkswagen, Volvo.
I mean, you were close. The patent office issued it in 1962. Before then, and you just think about cars back from the 50s. No side seat, no side curtain airbags, no seat belts, no blind spot monitors, just a couple of seats and vibes. That's all you had. And it was by the grace of God and whether or not you survived the crash.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And now you look at cars today, and like you can get in a car crash, and as long as you're wearing a seatbelt, you probably will be okay.
You look at cars today, and you're paying $10 a month for heated seats.
Yep.
We're not going to talk about that again.
Lord have mercy. People are hacking those seats, by the way.
Why are we hacking heated seats?
Because someone decided to bring DLCs to cars, and even in racing, mandating the Hans device.
EA Sports
the way
cars
this
now?
Apparently
I said last week.
he did. But as far as race teams, even racing safety, we moved the gas tank to the back where it's safe. All the crush panels that we have in cars, just all the safety innovations have made it to where the serious traumatic injuries that used to be more common, and of course death, it's still there, but it's not as concerning as it would have been 30 years ago. But we're going to take a break. When we come back, we got some news to get into about NASCAR because we thought Denny Hamlin won the race, and then the tech gods got involved. We'll talk about that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with a list of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
Give me a second. The world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organizations. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's trying to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro teams have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance. If you love your sport, you may get the second chance you've been waiting for as an athlete. Follow them on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, Instagram at Southern California _Warriors, and Facebook, Southern California Warriors.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Here comes the pitch, and it comes in wide.
On the BS3 Sports Show.
Welcome to the BS3 Sports Podcast. We hope your experience with us is amazing. Sports talk, comedy, social issues, and more. BS3 is the best source. Can you dig it, son?
Give me a second. We're back here in the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl, Michael, and Chris back with you. If you're listening live, we have some evening thunderstorms, I think, about to start here in the D.C. area. So if we suddenly drop off, it's probably because my power just fell. I think it's actually starting to rain.
And Chris has to go find a laptop charger quick.
Yeah, so Michael will probably be the only one with you. Actually, no, Spreaker will actually crash if we lose power here. So that'll probably be it for the show tonight if we lose power early. But as we're sitting here, Michael went to the NASCAR race. Or I didn't go to the NASCAR race, but the NASCAR race was on television from Pocono, a track that is near and dear to my heart because it was where I covered my first ever NASCAR race live. And it was a lot of fun. I still remember it fondly to this day. And Denny Hamlin actually won that race from Kyle Busch on a late race strategy call, which was awesome. I got to interview Denny Hamlin. And I say that because fast forward to 2022, Denny Hamlin wins again at Pocono. And then the tech gods came. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Busch were both disqualified from the race for having improper adjustments to the front fascia. Apparently there were pieces of tape under the vinyl at the corners trying to hold the vinyl down, probably for downforce reasons, that they were dinged for. That was only the second biggest penalty, as Michael McDowell's team got hit with the Brad Keselowski penalty. 100 points, $100,000 for messing with one of the mandated parts that NASCAR has. So McDowell, already in a must-win situation, now in a deeper must-win hole. But yeah, going into the NASCAR race, the tech gods in NASCAR not playing around as we're getting closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I saw one of the inspectors walking out wearing the number 1 hat.
Wait, you said what?
Excuse me.
I said I think I saw one of the technicians on the camera wearing a Trackhouse number 1 hat.
Oh my god.
Yeah, a little bit of revenge for Denny Hamlin absolutely wiping out Ross Chastain in this race, and something that we knew was coming. We knew that was coming.
Joe Gibbs cheating?
Absolutely knew that was coming. No, we knew the payback for Chastain was coming.
It didn't sound like it was payback, and actually I think, if anything, Denny Hamlin's probably more pissed now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he still finished behind him in all of this.
Yeah, I that was the whole irony in the situation. I was laughing so hard.
Mm-hmm. So sad for
I'll never forget that
Chastain.
TikTok you sent me of him just eating mashed potatoes and steak.
Hamlin is getting really good at this social media thing, and it's kind of helping him smile through the pain of losing that third win, as it has been a struggle for that team outside of his 2 wins, which thank God it's winner you're in the playoffs, which I had fights with that on people on Twitter this weekend because people just won't get over the fact that we have the playoffs. And like, I don't like saying this, but folks, the playoffs aren't going away. And at this point, if you're still complaining about it, the door's to your right. Like, the playoffs are not going away.
The thing about it is we have, when the playoffs start, 10 races that are going to be exciting and worth watching, right?
Yeah, which is what they were trying to do.
Max Verstappen literally does not have to win a race again this season. He's champion.
Nope.
And we're not even to the summer break. So the idea or the complaint that we need to go back to the single season, no regular season and playoffs, but like a single season winner takes all. People want that in theory because that's what they don't have right now. Mm-hmm. If we switch back to that next year, they'd be bitching halfway through the season when Chase Elliott clinches with 5 weeks to go.
And just to that point, as we go over to NASCAR.com to look at the handy-dandy point standings, Chase Elliott currently has a points lead with the win he just picked up, by the way, because he ended up being declared the winner at Pocono. He has a 105-point lead over Ross Chastain. That's over a race. Chase Elliott.
What's the lead over 3rd, 4th, and 5th?
It's 111 to Blaney, 126 to Larson, 133 to Truex.
So 4th, 5th, 6th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th is a more exciting points battle than 1st and 2nd right now.
Yeah, Chase can just coast top 10s the rest of the season if it was a regular championship and win the Cup. He doesn't have to try the rest of the year.
Same with Verstappen.
Yep. At this point, Verstappen's on a cruise, and we'll get to that, believe me, because I've got a bone to pick with Michael's favorite team, and he probably does too. But the playoffs were made to make the last 10 races of the season exciting for the fans and for the track, so we're losing the money, and for TV. I think it's worked. I love how I wish it was still the Chase. I don't like the name playoffs. Chase was a lot more unique.
Yeah.
But I like the Chase. And guess what? You can't have you can't coast in the Chase. Especially not anymore. You try to coast through one of these rounds, you're going to end up like Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, the thing about the playoffs is you have to have 10 races, 10 solid races. You DNF in one of them, you could be saying that's a season.
Yep.
A lot of the same people that complain about the NASCAR playoffs, I think I see in late March and early April raving about watching March Madness, right? And
yep,
how
single elimination tournament.
Yep, and I think those same people when UMBC took out Virginia, 16 seed takes out a 1 seed, I bet you they were crapping their pants happy, posting all about this huge upset, and then they go to NASCAR and watch the regular season points leader win the championship and bitch about how the playoffs are BS.
Which, by the way, you had to have been here the year that happened in this state. The chest thumping from Marylanders when UMBC pulled that off was absolutely incredible. Like, you would have thought we had won the final. That's how good it was. Mainly because Maryland was not in the tournament, because Maryland, last couple of years, the big school, was awful. But UMBC winning that, proudest moment for Marylanders ever. As far as sports are concerned. Other than, obviously, the 2002 National Championship. Yeah.
And then they kept it going. They didn't stop. They kept going.
Yeah, well, they almost beat Kansas, but they just, or Kansas State, but they couldn't get it done. But such a good team. But anyway, digressing. Playoffs, they're good for the sport. Now the question would be, well, would you want to see a playoff in Formula One? No, and I'll tell you why. It wouldn't change anything. Max is still going to win the championship.
And Lewis would have won his. Let's not pretend that it's unique. Lewis would have won his championships too.
Yeah, Lewis would have absolutely won his championships. Like especially 2020. Like there's no changing the results in Formula One because the teams are not that close.
Who's asking for a playoff in Formula One?
I don't think anybody. I think it was
nobody. We're just talking hypothetical.
Oh, I was about to say, who the hell was asking for that?
Yeah, well, people would say, would you want to see a playoff in other sports? No, the NHRA has it, and the NHRA actually lends itself to a playoff because all their races are single elimination. But Formula One, nothing's going to change if you did a playoff.
No. Nope. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes are still going to be the top three, no matter what the format is for points.
Yep. What else? IndyCar has too few races, so their season is fine. So the other motorsports don't really need it. It's just NASCAR's 36 races, and it's every week, and it lends itself to these gigantic leads. So, and we kind of digress from the point of laughing at the failures of JGR trying to get through a tech inspection, but that room of doom could cost somebody a championship this year with this new car because these teams are really playing with fire.
Have they announced any further penalties on JGR for those infractions?
No, it was just the infractions at the racetrack. They did not take any further penalties on that.
I wonder if they pulled the 20 and the 19 in to check them out afterwards.
I don't think they did, but I know they took the 11 and the 18 cars.
Yeah. Well, they would have disqualified the 11, taken the 18.
Yeah.
Disqualified that. And did you actually see Chase Elliott's interview about the win?
Yeah. Yeah, he basically wasn't celebrating it.
Well, about how him and his dad were flying home from Pennsylvania, and he got off. They obviously, for anybody that doesn't know, Chase and Bill are big-time pilots, and they fly everywhere. And so they were flying back from Pocono back to Dawsonville, and got off the plane to all the text messages like congratulations, blah blah blah. But him and Pops were just flying home thinking they were third. Gets off the plane and find out the good news.
That's awesome to find that out that way.
That'd be like cool, like not. And maybe this will be the segue we need to finally move into Formula One. But
yeah, we don't have a lot of time left.
Look at like the difference between like Chase Elliott, who is a NASCAR champion and possibly going to be a second world champion. Look at the relationship between him and his dad versus Max Verstappen and his douchebag of a dad.
Lord have mercy, you are not lying.
But Chase and Max are very similar in where they are in their careers. They're roughly the same age. They have the same number of championships. They're probably the favorite for this year's championship. And they both have very, very famous fathers. But their relationships with them are 100% different. Like, couldn't be further away from each other.
Yeah.
I know.
Anytime I hear Max talk about his father, I just want to fight Jos Verstappen. Every time he has said something about that man raising him, I just want to fly to Europe and just be like, square up.
Yeah.
Just square up. You know what you did.
Oh, yeah.
It's awful.
The abuse that he put Max through, I couldn't even imagine.
I don't think he would know what square up means.
Well, how do you say it in Dutch? I will try to learn it on the plane. That's a story for another topic. But speaking of Max Verstappen,
Red Bull,
they've got this championship. Yeah, they've got this championship. I'm sorry, Michael. We'll ease you into it. We'll start quickly with the Porsche thing. Porsche is going to buy a 50% stake into the team and become their engine supplier. Yeah, starting in 2026. They'll be the official engine supplier or the engines will be badged Porsches. Red Bull is starting their whole powertrains thing.
So what I don't understand, right, is so in 2026, new engine manufacturers are going to have extra time or something to develop. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there is an incentive for new teams. And I think that's the reason that Red Bull is still running Honda engines technically. And they actually were going to do the Red Bull powertrains, but they're actually waiting till 2026 so they get that extra time. And that's why Honda's continuing to manufacture and do their engines, is so that Red Bull gets the extra incentive in 2026.
So why take Honda's name off the engines?
But it's still on the car. You still see HRC on the car.
Yeah, but why?
It's for the extra development. They either get extra money or extra testing time or something. And so that's why Honda's kind of sticking around. And you actually see the HRC on there. And that's probably why their reliability issues are solved. Because at the end of the day, say what you want about that Honda engine, those things were bulletproof.
They really were. And my whole thing is, if y'all were just going to, why not just wait to announce the powertrains thing in 2026 and then just keep saying Red Bull Honda? You know, it just feels like a pointless, because we all know it's still Honda engines. We just call them Red Bulls. It's just, it feels kind of pointless, especially now that Red Bull's on top and Honda's just missing out on all this great advertising as their engines that aren't their engines are winning races. It just feels like a decision. It feels kind of short-sighted as a decision for Honda to yank their name off but continue to stick around.
Yeah, I don't get it either. If I was Honda, I would not be leaving Formula One, especially until Red Bull falls off inevitably.
Yeah.
But right now, I would want to be all over that car.
Yeah. Speaking of falling off, sorry, Michael. Let's go ahead and rip this Band-Aid off. Charles Leclerc stuffs the car into the barriers, his Ferrari, after being on the pole, which seems to be, I was going to get that too, and leading 18 laps in, which is an unfortunate drama that, or not unfortunate drama, unfortunate theme of the season, which has been Charles gets pole and Max wins the race because either Ferrari screws it up, Charles screws it up, or they both screw it up. I was watching WTF1 on TikTok earlier, and those guys are just going off about how Ferrari has absolutely bottled this. They had the best car coming into the season, and they have screwed it every step of the way. And now Verstappen doesn't have to win again to still win the championship. He wins in Hungary, he can podium out and win the championship after the summer break. It's over at this point, realistically. Unless either the Red Bull powertrain engine detonates or Mercedes somehow goes on a miracle run and just sweeps the last 11 races of the season, which I don't see happening at all. But stranger things have happened. But I don't understand how we are sitting here. I mean, I do understand it, but I don't. How we are sitting here in July after the preseason that we saw where Red Bull are Ferrari far and away the strongest, and yet it's Red Bull running away with this thing.
And another question for you, Daryl. How come Carlos Sainz from the driver's seat has to tell his team what his penalty was? Because his team,
I forgot about that.
Carlos Sainz literally had to tell his team that it was a 5-second penalty. And Carlos Sainz has been a better strategist all season from his own seat. in race, he has been a better strategist than Ferrari. And I'm not a Carlos Sainz fan by any means. I think I was very clear. But I think that my perception of Carlos Sainz has flipped 180 degrees, and I respect the hell out of that dude now. That dude wants to win more, and no, I don't take this the wrong way, Michael, but I think Carlos Sainz has more fire in his gut to win a race than than Charles Leclerc does at this point.
Well, he hasn't been able to win a race since he
Leclerc just seems
Verstappen.
defeated. It seems like Leclerc has already given up. And I know that that's not necessarily the case because we all heard that scream in the car, and that doesn't come from nowhere. That's obviously a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
But Carlos is an animal. He wants to win every race, and he's telling his team what the best strategy is, and if his team would just listen to him, they'd probably be better off, realistically. And how do you sit as a strategist on the pit wall and tell your driver the incorrect penalty, and he basically had to correct his team and tell him what the penalty was? It is just mind-boggling. The program as a whole, and Mattia's been there long enough that this is 100% his program, top to bottom, and he needs to answer for it. And if I'm Ferrari, I'm not waiting for the end of the season. We're starting to change now because second place is slipping away from you every race. P2 in the constructors is slipping away.
They're going to lose that.
You need to change something over the summer break if you want to finish the constructors second.
Michael, you're our resident Ferrari fan. I'll give you the floor here before we close out. I think the funny part is you're the Ferrari fan. Chris and I are like fans of the two rivals, yet we're pissed. I think we're more pissed that Ferrari is doing bad than Ferrari fans.
Oh no, I'm pissed. It's just, you guys are kind of saying everything I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's just like, you guys tear into them every week.
Well, because it's not fun. It's not fun seeing them.
Would it be fun if they were winning?
Yeah, actually.
Well, as the beneficiary of Ferrari's bungling of the season, no. But it's not fun. I'd rather see Max win. I don't want to say another tight championship because that's just going to bring up other scars.
No, but Lord.
I'd rather see him win.
But I would rather see an interesting championship than Max run away with it.
Yeah, I would rather see this come down to Abu Dhabi with a competent race director than him just coast into it again. Well, at least I don't think these will change the rules on the last lap of the race to induce a finish.
It depends on how big of a check from Red Bull Racing you have sitting on your desk.
Good point. Michael, go ahead before we close out.
Here's what I'll say. You got to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Yep.
You got to get rid of the whole damn pit wall, honestly.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, I don't care if you make yourself out to be the villains, because that's what it really sounds like. You hate being called the villains. You got to go back to that way.
I don't think they know how.
I don't think they know how either, because they've lost a lot of that drive because of their inability to run the pit wall, inability to manage the team, and inability to keep drivers' mentalities, because let's not lie, Sebastian Vettel was a train wreck when he left that team.
Yeah.
And now you're about to ruin a fourth one.
Speaking of him, we got 5 minutes left, and we haven't even talked about what he said today.
Yeah. Sebastian Vettel saying goodbye from Formula One. I don't know how to feel about that.
It's weird.
Weird. I'm actually okay with that.
It was time, but it...
Did you guys watch the video he posted on Instagram?
And that he made an Instagram too?
Well, first I have to find his Instagram. Now that he finally made one. But okay, we got to wrap this up. The lights are flickering. Yeah.
So basically, it was like not even about Formula One. It was about who he was as a person and who he is as a person. Like, he wants to be known for who he is as a person, not as a Formula One 4-time champion. I mean, there was some weird things in there, like he likes the smell of fresh baked bread. Right?
I understand that.
That's a nice no.
But it was like who I am is not a Formula One driver. Who I am is a father, a husband.
Mm-hmm.
I like the smell of warm bread. My favorite color is blue. He just told you all about himself, about who he is.
And
as
you
not a
would
Formula One driver.
you would never have known that about Sebastian Vettel either.
No, and about how he wants it. I would say that if you guys have the 4 minutes and 21 seconds, if you type in Sebastian Vettel, it's a verified Instagram account. There's only one video on the account, and that's the one that he made this morning. He literally made the account 2 days ago to post the video this morning. Go watch. It was as Sebastian Vettel, a retirement video. Like, when you guys watch it, you'll be like, "Yep, that's classic Sebastian." I'm not surprised by his delivery at all.
So we've got 3 minutes to get out of here. So we quickly have to do our nearest the win picks and then get out of here. Current scoreboards: I'm at 33, Chris at 23 after a 4-point weekend for you. Good job, sir. Michael is at 8. We have the Indy Road Course this week. You took Elliott last week, fortuitous for me. Michael took Truex. I took Blaney. I'm going to take the Chase Elliott bump this week, and because I think he's going to win at the road course. Chris, Michael, quickly, who do you got?
Kyle Larson.
Michael, who you got? Yep.
I guess I'll go Suarez.
And we've got IndyCar also at Indy. They'll race on Saturday. Last week, I took Ericsson. Michael took Scotty Mack. And Chris took Renus VK. I am going to take Scott Dixon. Michael, who you got?
I am going to take Willpower, I guess. I don't know.
Willpower,
Chris, who you
Michael?
got?
Yeah.
I'm going to take another Scott, my favorite Aussie, Scott McLaughlin.
Alrighty.
Trade one Scott for another Scott.
So that will do it.
Right.
So
What
that'll
about
do it.
Formula One? We got Hungary.
Oh, we have Hungary this week as well?
Yep.
All right. Well, I took Perez. Michael took Leclerc. Chris, you took Hamilton.
I'm
going to take.
Sure, we got Hungary this week.
Let me check.
Let me double check.
Yeah, Hungary, Sunday, July 31st. Yep, we're on this weekend,
right.
boys.
All right. So, this is the last one before the summer break. I am taking Verstappen. Chris, who you got?
Who did I pick last week?
Last week, you picked Hamilton.
Okay, well, I'm going to take Supermax.
I'll take
Michael. All right, we're going to see if the iSports Radio curse works on Red Bulls.
That man is such a golden boy that
Hold on,
curse is not even going to hurt him.
Did anybody pick Verstappen last 2 weeks ago?
No.
Oh, so I picked up the points for Hamilton?
Yeah, you did.
Nice.
Yep.
Yay me.
All right.
I did something.
Well, Bio Bulletin.
Impact Verstappen, to be honest with you.
Was Arthur
All right,
Parsons even here with us tonight?
No, he is not. But the Bio Bulletin is supposed to be coming up. I don't know where he is, but I do want to thank our Patreon supporters: Bay Area Race, MLO's Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Make sure to check out iSportsRadio.com to get on the Patreon. Just $5 a month gets you a shout out on all 32 of our shows. And remember, higher tiers include merchandise, podcasting university, and a chance to be on the defining moment. Also, make sure to listen to our podcast wherever you can hear your shows, including the YouTube repository, which has a backup of every single episode we've ever done. I'm at DK Junior 12. Michael's at Michael_War25. Chris is at Fiji Sims. Make sure you follow the show's social medias at the Extra Mile Pod on TikTok and the Extra Mile IESR on Twitter.
If we could go late if you wanted to tonight. Arthur's not going to be on.
Okay. Well, I just started doing the entire rundown at the end of the show, so.
Well, if I'm down to go for like another 15, 20 minutes if you want. If we want to call it, we'll call it.
Isn't a storm like impacting them?
Yeah, my lights actually just flickered, so I'm gonna go ahead and get us out of here, actually. But we will see you guys next week at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.